Hello, Express Entry Law Facebook group members, and those of you tuning in on the Canadian Immigration Institute YouTube channel. Welcome, and I know right now those of you YouTubers who have not subscribed or requested actually to become a member of the Facebook Express Entry Law Facebook group, that's the best thing you can do at this stage to participate live. So I know you're watching a pre-recording, and I want you guys to feel the love. I don't want you guys to feel like, that you're getting left out with your questions. Remember, you out there in YouTube land can always send me an email to mholthy@stringham.ca. And don't forget to put EE Live Q&A in the subject line, and I can answer your questions. My name is Mark Holthy. I'm a Canadian immigration lawyer, and I am the founder of the Express Entry Law Facebook group, which is a private group designed to provide a safe environment for people to share information. Now, I can't police every single thing that's posted, and sometimes I have to go in and correct some of the responses. But people are generally doing an awesome job of sharing information that is actually accurate and useful. I want to remind all of you awesome members that the best thing to do always when you're responding to other people's questions is to link back to the actual source of your information. So rather than just throwing out an answer that's a guess, it's always good to go back and actually link to the government website or the source of your information so that everybody can know that it's accurate. All right. So obviously this group, we're trying to elevate it and elevate the knowledge of everybody when it comes to express entry. And one of the best ways that I've been able to do that is through this avenue, through this live Facebook video. And it's not perfect, as you can see. There's lots of glitches and problem areas and things like that. But the reality is, it's an awesome way for me to interact with all of you guys. So we'll wait a few minutes for everybody to jump on before I dive into too many crazy things. I thought what I would do, though, is take a few seconds just to share a few little updates that you may have seen on the Express Entry Law Facebook group page. So I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to blow this up, and then I'm going to show you something here. I've got a bunch of things going on. The starting point is, you'll see here right at the top, if you can see, group by Canadian Immigration Institute. So basically what this means is I am linking my Canadian Immigration Institute Facebook page with this group. And some of you are probably wondering, well, why are you doing that? And Mark, when you answer questions, you're appearing as Canadian Immigration Institute. Well, the reason I'm doing that is because the group limits me in how I can communicate with you guys, how I can send out notifications, how I can advise you of changes or new EE Live Q&As that are coming out, or discounts that I'm offering. Because as you've seen, anytime someone posts anything within our group here, it is disappearing faster than it even gets released. So here's our live one right here, and that's great. It'll stay up there as long as it's live. But once it's done, then if I was to try and scroll down and find the other EE Live Q&A sessions that I've done, you can't even find them. It's really hard. You'd have to go over to the left side here and actually go in and search for the videos here to try and track down all of the past EE Live Q&As. But even then, all of these ones here are not really in any particular order. So what I'm going to encourage all of you guys to do is to actually go to my Canadian Immigration Institute, this page right here, and I'm bouncing around all over the place here, but this private group, well, not private group, this YouTube channel that I have here, if I can get things working properly, yes, we're at just about 4,694 subscribers. I highly recommend that all of you guys come to the Canadian Immigration Institute, and you can see, if you search for it, you should be able to find it. This is where all the videos are posted. And so when you come to the site, you can see, look at this. All of the different EE Live Q&A videos are easy to access here, and you can find what you're looking for a lot faster. So that's one thing I want to point out. And then also, people are sending me a lot of questions about, hey, can you assess me my qualifications? I've had a number of emails that have been sent with EE Live Q&A in the subject line that have asked me to assess whether or not they meet the requirements of Express Entry or one of the various P&P programs. Well, folks, that service is actually one where you would need to book a paid consultation with me. And in a 30-minute consult, and you've jumped on probably and seen many of the other Express Entry Law Facebook group members who've had previous consults with me provide their feedback on the process. But really, it's my opportunity to jump in with you and answer all of your questions and get you right on the right track. So you're not wasting time. You know whether or not you're going to qualify or not, and what you need to do to change to put yourself in a better position to qualify. So you can go to my firm website here, fill out my intake form, make sure that you check off here, where did you hear about us? Well, it's our Facebook Express Entry Law, our private group. And so this is where you can book the consult. You can see my fees. The firm has raised my legal fees up to $425 an hour this year, but I am keeping my consults at $200 for a 30-minute consult. Plus, I charge 5% GST. But anyways, which is our sales tax. And if you want to book an appointment with Billy, it's $100 for a 30-minute consult. But anyways, I just want to share that with you guys because some people are sending me requests for me to assess their specific qualifications, and that doesn't really fit within what we're trying to do here with our Express Entry live Q&A. All right, so I'm going to jump back here, and it looks like we've got a bunch of people that have poured in, so that's awesome. If you guys ever have suggestions or ideas on how to make this better, I welcome it, and you can totally send those here or post them in the comments. I had a really good suggestion from one of our YouTube followers who suggested that these EE Live Q&As be shorter, and that, well, they kind of said that they were boring. So I definitely don't want them to be boring. But the reality is I want them to be effective and useful. And so there's always a little bit of a lead up at the beginning of these videos where I talk about some of the housekeeping matters, you know, some of the things that I need to let you guys know about. And then we get into the teaching moment, and then that follows the actual email questions that were sent. And finally, I finish off with the comments from you live awesome followers. So that's the traditional method, and that's how these EE Live Q&As roll. But another person suggested that I timestamp the answers to the questions. And you know what, guys? I would love to do that. But right now, it's just not in the budget. So essentially, what I'm doing here, there's not a lot of cost outlay for it. It's just my time. But I'm going to look at some different ways and see if there's some different things that I can do to maybe outsource that service and then create more of a timestamp so that you guys can, if you want to find particular answers to particular questions without having to scroll through everything and watch the whole EE Live Q&A, you can do that. But that will be, 2.0. That's the next upgrade. So hang in there, guys. All right. As always, I want you guys to let me know where you're listening from. So now's the time where you're going to punch in there. And I see Shaifal is already giving me the Bangladesh and Mohammed Palestine. We've got Equatorial Guinea, D Mango. Awesome. Very cool. So you guys post now where you're listening in from, because I love to see where people are watching live. And I know with the timing that we're doing this, it's not convenient for everybody, but it's really, really cool just to see the sacrifice that you guys make to watch this live, because you can always watch the recording, right? That's always available to you. All right, we've got Auckland, New Zealand, Sumit. Shedozi is Abuja, Nigeria. Excellent. Tezib's from India. Dorina is from Albania. Hi, Dorina. We've got Zina's from Iraq. Awesome. Thanks for tuning in, Zina. Mohammed. Yeah, this is Maud from Pakistan. You bet, Maud. Welcome back. And Shashin is Edison, New Jersey. All right. We've got some people in the U.S. And then D'Souza and Deepa are both from India. Syed, Saudi Arabia. And I could go on and on. But that's really, really awesome. You guys are all tuning in. All right. Couple things I want to share with you at the very beginning. Yuv is from India. Time is 12:40 a.m. I know. And then we've got Shanti, who's from Canada. Zimiya is Pakistan. Okay, this is crazy. There's so many people that are on here, but thank you guys for sharing that. And everybody else can see where people are listening in from and just seeing how global this is. This is something that's not just catered to the people who are located here near to me in Alberta, but this is going out to the world. And that's why I love it so much. That's why I love this platform, because I can actually have an impact on people all over the world, sharing what I know, helping them to navigate this crazy express entry process. So thanks, guys, for letting me know where you're tuning in from. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to go back to my screen and I want to share with you guys a couple things. I'm going to blow it up big and make it easier for you guys to see. And then I'm going to jump back to our express entry law page. And I want to show you guys something else. So if you look here over in the right, if I click on this, look at how many members we have. We are so close to 100,000. I can't believe it. I had an original goal to hit 100,000 before the end of 2017. And I know that if I'd put some money into Facebook advertising or things like that, that I could have pushed over the top. But I want this to be natural growth. People who are sharing this with other people who it's not me just plastering these advertisements out in the world, but people who genuinely appreciate what this group has to offer and are sharing it with their friends and people that they know. And so that's how I want this group to grow. And I want anyone, if you found a benefit to this, to go out and invite other people that you know to join it. Now, it's not as easy because it's a private group, so you can't just list their names in the comment section and tag them. They have to actually request to be added, and then a member of my admin team will do that. And I did that for a reason as well, because I don't want to open it up to just anyone who's spamming or trying to get clients or whatever it might be. And so do share, do reach out. Okay. It is time now to, I want to show you one other thing here in our teaching moment. So many people wonder, so I'm going to just type in here. All right. Okay, so this is where I access the express entry system. So when I go in here, I can click on here, go to my GC key, and I can go in and I can actually sign in and submit applications from this end. But this morning, the interesting thing about this is that, and you guys can see my username, whatever. The interesting thing about this is that sometimes the system is bogged down or it's shut down and you can't access it. And it's crazy because you've got something that's really urgent and you need to get it submitted and you're running out of time. So this is the first teaching moment that I wanted to share with all of you guys. Excuse me. Whatever you do, do not wait until the last minute to submit your documents to IRCC. And this happens in a lot of different circumstances. For example, maybe you receive your invitation to apply, and then you have 90 days to file your application. Well, don't wait until the very last day to submit your EAPR, thinking that everything is going to go perfectly. Because the last thing in the world you want to happen is for you to get ready to send it, and then the government's system is down. And guys, this happens a lot, or it's slow. And so never ever leave it to the last day. Sometimes IRCC will ask you to provide an updated document or something that you hadn't originally needed to include in your document checklist, but they want it later. Maybe you have a police clearance from the US that has taken a long time and you need to upload it, and they only give you a certain number of days. The same thing applies. Do not wait until the last minute to submit it, because if you do, and there's problems with the portal, your MyCIC portal, and you can't get in, there is no mercy. IRCC is ruthless in that regard. So it's up to you to make it work. And if the system isn't working or you can't get in, and that's what happened to us this morning. We weren't able to get into the system to get our files uploaded for all of our current clients. So that's the one teaching moment that I wanted to share with you guys today. And so don't forget, give yourself lots of time. All right, now that we're here, I thought what I would do is just wanted to let all of you guys know that hold off on your comments. And I think most of you who are tuning in frequently know this now. Hold off on posting your comments until I tell you to, because I don't scroll back up to see the comments. And once I say post your comment now, I go through step by step from the moment I say post your comment now, and I go through all those comments in a chronological order. So you don't need to post the same one 3 or 4 or 5 times, okay? And if we do that, it'll help things to go really, really quick. But, all right, so we are now at the stage where I'm going to start answering some of the listener questions. And so the first one here, I'll hold it up, is from Akash Narula. And Akash says the following. Hey, dear Mark, I want to know about Ontario. Why Ontario is picking fresh files of 2018 instead of clearing backlogs where a lot of people are waiting for NOI above 400 score. One thing more, is there any chance of CRS going down below 430 CRS points? Okay, so the first question is the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program. They have indicated that if your comprehensive ranking system score is above 400, you may be considered. May. So the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program, if you imagine how many people are in the queue right now, okay, let's say they have about 6,500 nominations they can issue each year. There are a number of different programs that they have to divide all of those nominations up into. Well, can you imagine if they were bound to extend these notifications of interest to every single person that was above 400 comprehensive ranking system points? There would simply be insufficient space to allow them to actually process applications, and people would be in the queue for years and years hoping to qualify and hoping to get that NOI. So you have to realize that the number of people that actually want to apply, and do you know what, I'm gonna jump on here again, because this is what I like to do. Let's go right here, and I'm going to show you, we're going to go to the rounds of invitations, okay? We're going to click on that, and then I'm going to show you something here, okay? So here is the latest draw, so January 24th, 444. If we scroll down here, take a look at this range, okay? So technically speaking, all right, so right now, as of January the 18th, and let me see if I can blow this up so you guys can really understand this, because it's really important. So maybe I'll shrink it down just one. So you can see as of January the 18th, 2018, at least this is the latest data, this is the number of candidates that are actually in the pool, at least at that time. So there's been one draw, so they have been pulled out, some of them. But look at this, folks. Do you see how many are sitting in 401 to 450? 21,000. 21,000. So please understand that although 400 and above could be considered, not every candidate that is above 400 is being given a notice of interest. And so I just wanted you guys to understand that. And so when it comes to Akash asking, well, why are they sitting? Why are they asking us to refresh? Well, the reality is there are some issues with how the computer, the Ontario program, actually communicates with the Express Entry portal. There are some issues with that, and that's why they tell you to refresh your profile and refresh it. But understand, there was a time where one of the draws, they didn't consider anyone under 430 points. And there was tremendous overlap in the people that were extended a notice of interest and those who were given an ITA. And I can tell you from my perspective, if you're in the range, and if we go back here to share my screen, and I blow this back up again for you guys. So if you were in the range of 440, for example, you are not going to want to sit around and waste time going through the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program. You're going to accept your invitation to apply from Express Entry. You're going to celebrate, and you're going to drive on through that process, which will go much faster. But for those of you who are maybe hovering around 420 to 430, and I've got a couple clients right now in that range, the next question Akash said was, is it going to go down to 430? Well, based on what we've seen to this point, and based on the number of people that are still in the pool, so you can see here, this is 401 to 450. So let's scroll down and just see 431 and up. There's still 4,439. And when you look at how many people are actually given invitations to apply, you can see right here, the number of invitations issued in the last draw was 2,750. And so that's only people above 444. So there were that many people at 444 and above. So you can see here. So basically this is 451 to 600. So you take the people at 444. So that's a portion of these right here. Maybe it's you can go down and you can actually calculate it. But if you go here to 441 to 450, there were at 1,420. Okay, and you can see how detailed it gets. So you take that number and then you add it to everything that's above 451 to and this number here and this number here. You can do the math, right? That's where the invitations to apply are coming from. So 430, I'm just not sure, because right now we've got 4,000 in there, and it's probably, some of them have been taken, none of these actually have been taken out since the last draw because it was at 444. So we're doing a lot of prognosticating here. We're doing a lot of guesswork, and it's really hard to know for certain exactly what IRCC is going to do. But based on the number of people that are in there, I'm not seeing it dropping too fast below 430, at least not at this stage. And the real culprit for that is when they added siblings and French language to increase comprehensive ranking system points. I think that was one of the triggers that caused our CRS scores and the pass mark to increase. Okay, so there is the question from Akash. Thank you so much. He says, take care, you're doing tremendous work. Thanks, Akash. All right, and I launch it into the sunset. Okay, next one here. This one is from Fu. And the question is, Dear Mark, could you please advise if Certificate of Qualification, and then she's attached an image, is applied for a federal skilled worker stream, or is it for NOC under skilled trades only? I got a certificate of OACETT for electrical engineering technology. That's NOC 2241. Can I get 50 points under this condition? Okay, so Fu, you're confusing a few things, but the reality is, for the Certificate of Qualification, it needs to be a trade, an actual regulated trade, or compulsory or non-compulsory, but a trade level position. And engineering technologists or technicians is not considered to be trade for the purposes of express entry. And if you go through, you can actually, when you reach the stage where it's asking about your Certificate of Qualification, it will provide examples of the actual NOC codes. Oh, 1 second. Hello?
Hi, sorry, I have Rick from Total Safety on the line.
I'm just doing a live Facebook video right now.
Oh, of course.
Can you take a message and then I'll call Rick right back?
Yeah,
okay,
no problem.
Thanks. Bye. And there you go. Nothing like a live video with one of your big companies. Yeah, that's kind of embarrassing. Anyways, I had to answer it. They paged me. So you guys are getting the live unedited version here. This is crazy. So I'm doing this at noon, but I am a Canadian immigration lawyer. And so I have clients, corporations, tons of people that I represent directly. And that's my day job. So technically, although this is noon, this is my night job or my no sleep job. And as you can see from my eyes here, they're looking a little red and bloodshot because guess what time I went to bed last night? 3:30 a.m. So I had approximately 3.5 hours sleep last night, but that's okay because I love doing this and that's the life that I'm working through right now. But anyway, sorry for that distraction. So back to the question of Fu. Fu, welders, carpenters, electricians, those are trades, okay? The other positions, technologists, technicians, those kinds of things, it really, really depends upon the list. And I will post in the comment section the link where you can tell exactly whether or not your position would be considered a trade. But then understand, if you're to get points, you don't get points for trade level positions through the Federal Skilled Worker Program. You would actually go through the Federal Skilled Trade Program. All right? Okay. Good question. We'll launch that one. Okay, the next question is from Samita. And Samita says, thanks for your help. That is provided by you, dear. Thanks in tons. So everybody has different writing abilities, but I understand what you're talking about. My question is, when I applied for EE, I was single at that time. Then I got married and added my husband with me. Now he got a U.S. visa for 5 years as he is in the Merchant Navy. He doesn't want to leave his job for 5 years now because the rest of the family is dependent on him only, and he is satisfied with his job. And that's a great, great response. Sometimes people are happy where they're at and they get an ITA, they have the ability to immigrate to Canada, but the job at home just pays more and helps to provide better for the family. So I totally understand this, Samita. She says, so I want to file individually without him. What I need to do, okay, and which documents will be required in the future. Thanks again, dear. God bless you, Samita. Okay, Samita, all you need to do is list your spouse as non-accompanying. It's as simple as that within the profile section. So you list your spouse as non-accompanying, and then just follow the prompts. Your spouse will still need to be medically examined. Your spouse will still need to obtain police clearances. You must fully disclose them and follow all of the instructions that you're given. And every situation is a little bit different. But in your situation, that's what you do. You list them as non-accompanying, but they're fully disclosed. If the kids are coming with you, that's possible. That's not a problem. But you need to identify that. But then, and there might be, I can't remember if there's another question here as well, you have to understand that if you then want to sponsor them at a later date, it's going to take some time. And currently processing times for sponsoring a spouse are right around 1 year. So after you land and become a permanent resident of Canada, get yourself settled, then when you want to sponsor them through the family class, essentially, it's going to take probably about a year. It could be a little lower, could be a little more, but that's how long you're going to be apart, okay? At least from the standpoint of them being able to come to Canada. And you'll be surprised. It's going to be really difficult to get a visitor visa for a spouse to come visit you and your kids if you are all permanent residents of Canada and they were listed as a non-accompanying. So unless they already have had a TRV to come to Canada, it can be challenging to get that because it's difficult satisfying an officer that spouse is actually going to return back to your home country instead of wanting to stay with you and the kids in Canada. So pay attention to that one. Toss that one there. Okay, the next one is from Sana. And Sana says, first of all, let me thank you immensely for a sea of knowledge that you have shared. May God Almighty reward you. Mark, you are my favorite speaker. You are the best. Okay, guys, you got to check this out. It's actually quite funny. I'll try to cover this, but anyways. So this is the text. So Sana made sure that I could read it. So here's the question. Do we need work experience or referral letters for jobs we declare in the personal history in EAPR? The answer is 100% no. Unless you have declared in your work history section that you wish to claim CRS points for that work history, you do not need to provide reference letters for any work experience that is then listed in your personal history. So work history and personal history. Those are two separate sections. The work history is used for calculating your comprehensive ranking system points and your eligibility for one of the federal immigration programs, the Federal Skilled Trade, the Federal Skilled Worker Program, or the Canadian Experience class if you have Canadian work experience. So no problem there, Sana, not at all. And you'll find that there won't be a place to upload it really. The places that are set in your document checklist to upload documents are linked to exactly what you put in your work history. Okay, great question. All right, we're pounding through these. Good. Okay, next one. This one is from Joel. And Joel says, hi guys, need some advice. My wife, the kids, and I are in Ontario. She has a study permit for 2 years and I have an open work permit. Okay, this is great. So if you have a spouse and you've come to Canada and your spouse has been able to get a study permit to study in a post-secondary level, you, as the accompanying spouse, are also able to apply for an open work permit. Now, it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes the visa offices can be jerks, and they can refuse to grant the spouse an open work permit, but there is eligibility for this to allow a spouse to make that application if they can prove temporary intent. And that's really what it comes down to. And I don't mean to call the officers jerks, but sometimes they can be jerks. And sometimes they can be very harsh on people. And especially when it comes to international students. You guys are the ones that the government wants to stay in Canada and become permanent residents. And yet they give tons of grief to spouses. Oh no, what if you want to stay? Well, hello, that's the whole propaganda that all of the international recruiting that the federal government does to get students to come to Canada. Well, one of the carrots that they dangle is, hey, you have an opportunity for permanent resident status. If you come, spend your hundreds of thousands of dollars to get your Canadian education and pour that money straight into our economy, we'll then provide an opportunity. Now, it's not a guarantee, but an opportunity for you to become a permanent resident of Canada. So anyway, so that's the situation. Joel is here with his spouse. He's working on an open work permit, which is fantastic. And his spouse has that 2-year study permit. Okay. He said, I was offered a full-time job as a human resources coordinator at one of the largest logistics and supply chain management companies in Canada. That's awesome, Joe. See, there you go, guys. You can get jobs in Canada. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in HR, which is a perfect fit. Should I go ahead and try the express entry now or wait until she completes her studies next year? Okay, this question actually is probably bordering on the specific, do I qualify? But the reality is, Joe, and this is the general applicability of this question, if you have an opportunity to submit your profile now, there is zero harm in ever doing that. So if you're the principal applicant, go ahead and submit it. It's not a problem. Now, you may not have enough points, but maybe notwithstanding what I said about the 430 points probably not dropping down that low, maybe there's some crazy thing that happens. Maybe the government says, oh, we're going to do one big draw. Everybody at 400 points and over, we're just going to do a massive draw and just pump all these people through. Now, the likelihood of that happening is pretty low, but hey, if you were wise enough to get your profile in, even though it was low, you can always go in and update it later. So when your wife completes her education, you can update her Canadian education. You can, maybe you even decide to flip her and then she becomes the principal applicant. So there's lots of choices, lots of options, but always, if you have the ability, submit your profile. Now, I will caution you, okay? I say be generous in submitting your profile. But me as a representative, if you came to me with a score of 400, then I wouldn't take you as a client. Anything 400 or lower, I wouldn't take you as a client to actually have you pay me to submit your profile. Why not? Because I don't believe in taking people's money unless they have a real significant chance of qualifying. It's just not fair to you. You could pay me to submit your profile and then sit in the pool for a full year and not be any closer to getting your ITA. And I would never do that to you. So if a representative says, oh yeah, we submit profiles, who knows, anything could happen. Well, that's one thing for a representative to submit your profile and charge you full fees for doing it. And another for you to purchase, and I'm just going to throw this out there because that's what I do. for you to purchase a subscription to my my Express Entry complete step-by-step guide to doing it yourself, so that you can get your profile in there. And then if it doesn't work out, well, that's okay. At least you haven't forked over the traditional 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,000, whatever representatives are charging these days. So this here, you purchase a monthly subscription at $97. You get your profile in. You cancel that subscription if you want to, or keep it in. It doesn't matter. And you've got your profile in a whole lot cheaper than paying a representative. But that is for people who do not have a realistic chance right now of qualifying. If you're above 400, then I will fully represent you, because we don't know what's happening. But just anything under, I just really don't believe in taking people's money unless they have a legitimate chance of qualifying. Okay, great question, Joe. Great question. All right, there's another one gone. Okay, this one's for Deepa. Deepa says, "Hi, Mark. Thank you so much for creating this awesome group." You are welcome, Deepa. Recently, you have replied to one of my comments on Facebook stating that you will respond to the question in this EE Live. Okay, so Deepa, I better answer it. All right. In my case, if I add my spouse into the application, I'm losing 21 points. And as a single applicant, I have more points. I heard that if I do not include my spouse, it would take another year for him to get the PR. And also, initially, I need to go alone. Okay, so Deepa, your answer there to that first part is absolutely, that is correct. She says, please let me know whether it is true. I've created my profile with my spouse and the score is 414 points. We are waiting for the OINP notice of interest. Okay, you guys, and this applies to Deepa, but it applies to everybody else. You have some very difficult decisions to make. For whatever reason, the Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada has made the decision that they are going to punish couples. So if you're married, you are treated as a second-class citizen to individual applicants. And it doesn't matter how harsh that sounds. And many, many of my friends work within immigration. I myself worked on the border as an immigration officer. But sometimes you just have to tell it like it is. And the reality is, a spouse who is accompanying you as the principal applicant 90% of the time will drag your score down. And that's exactly what happened with Deepa here. She's losing 21 points. So how is she losing those points? I'm going to show you how she's losing those points. Okay? Because Deepa knows now that the answer is 100% true, that if you don't include your spouse, if you do not include your spouse and list them as non-accompanying, it does take up to a year. So let's go through here and we're going to look at these points and I'll show you why. So those of you who you can also watch, I'm trying to remember, I think you can watch a detailed video on my, let's see here. Oh, which one? I'm just jumping around a little bit here. Bear with me. I'm going to go in Canadian Immigration Institute. Okay. Yes. Okay. Not quite. Close. Right here. So lesson 3, how the comprehensive ranking system works. So that one is a paid course. I couldn't remember which ones I made free. Welcome to Express Entry and what is Express Entry. Those first 2 lessons are free preview for everybody. But that third one, well, you're getting a free preview right here because I'm going to show you. So here you can see, and I close this up, here are what we call the core human capital factors. So you can see here for age, you're awarded certain points. If you are without a spouse, you get 110. And if you do have a spouse, you're only awarded 100. So 10 less. Okay. Level of education. Single, get 150. If you're married, you get 140. There's 10 more points. So there's 20. Official language proficiency. You can see 160 if you're single, 150 if you've got a spouse. So do you see this? 10, 20, 30, and then the last one, Canadian work experience. 10 points difference. 80 if you're single, 70 if you have a spouse. So you can see here, well, why are they changing these? Why is it, why are people without a spouse or a common law partner, why did they get more points attributed to them? Well, it's because if you have a spouse, each of these point totals, you can see, is awarded to them. That's where the 40 points disappeared to. Okay? And you can see level of education is 10, official language proficiency is 20. And so that's where the points come from. And anyway, so we'll leave it at that, which is kind of goofy, but that's the way they do it. So when Deepa was telling us here that she was losing 21 points, you can see it's probably because her spouse, maybe the language wasn't as good, or the spouse didn't have the same level of education. So because of that, if you choose to list your spouse as non-accompanying, you will regain the potential to be assessed on those extra 40 points. And it's possible that for Deepa without the spouse, maybe the total goes up to 234 or even 434 or maybe even 440, which would be right in that range to get an ITA. So yeah, you have to make choices, and sometimes they have to be difficult ones. And it's sad that people have to make that choice to be separated from their spouse. I don't like it at all. And I'm sure there's some settlement thing, individuals who marry Canadians or people that are already in Canada have greater economic upside than someone who comes with their spouse who maybe doesn't have the same level of language ability. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But it doesn't mean that I have to like it. I've been married for over 20 years. In fact, 1995, June the 10th is my anniversary, or at least that's my wedding day. So I've been married for over, wow, that's 22 years. That's a long time, folks. All right. But I couldn't imagine being apart from my wife for a year. I just couldn't. So it's sad that people have to consider that. Okay. Last one. Okay. This one is a little bit different, and I'm going to probably just pick and choose a couple out of this. But this is from Varna. And I think, Varna, if you are on, give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up, because I think you might be tuning in live today. So this one's for you. So this is Varna. She says, hello, Mark. Thank you for all the support that you are giving to every single member of this group, no matter how large the group is becoming day by day. And yes, we know that it is just about at 100,000. Congratulations on doing such a phenomenal job. Well, I really appreciate that feedback, Varna. She says, I'm currently filling out my EAPR and was wondering if you could give me some guidance. I did try to find answers to these questions in the complete step-by-step guide, but I couldn't find it in the guide. So Varna is one of the subscribers of my complete step-by-step guide to doing it yourself. And that is, I've got so much going on my screen here. Sometimes it's hard to find it. So that's this one right here. So, and I'll put a link in the comment section, the description of the video, so that you can access this and you guys can all subscribe to it, because it is totally worth it. Anyway, she said here, the first question. So these are some things that she didn't see in there. And, obviously the guide doesn't cover every single possible contingency. It just wasn't possible when I created it. But when good people like Varna send me questions that I know are going to help everybody else, including the many, many other people who have gone in and purchased subscriptions to the complete step-by-step guide to doing it yourself, I want to help them and benefit them. So here's the question. So while filling out your personal history section, does it have to be in chronological order? And then she talks about how some of the information she put in her profile has been automatically moved over to her EAPR profile, but it's not in order. So don't worry about that at all, Varna. That is not a problem. The entries that you put in there do not have to be in chronological order. It's easier for you to make sure you don't have any gaps, but you don't need to worry about whether or not it's in chronological order. So I don't have the ability to go on and show you guys right within my portal, just because there's been glitches with the express entry, the representative portal, and probably people with their MyCIC who are trying to log in. So I won't be able to show you, but there's a section called your personal, the personal profile, the personal history information, where you're supposed to list everything that you've done for the past 10 years or the age of 18, whichever comes first. And so that's the situation where you don't have to have it in chronological order. So, okay, there's the question, Varna, first one. Okay, the second one says, I graduated in July 2014, and I came to Canada on August 24th, 2014. So you can see here, 1 month to the next, July to August. What would be the best possible way to enter this information in the personal history section, as it only allows us to enter the month and year and not the date? If I write that between July 2014 to August 2014, I was in India, which technically is the case because she was in India up until the 24th of that month. She says, then I have an entry stamp in my passport that I entered Canada on August the 24th. Would that not be contradicting? Should I mention my country, India, country of origin for this period, or Canada, country of residence? Well, the reality is, in both cases, you can actually overlap your time. So you can put in your history section that in the month of August, you were in India. So that was the end. And then the start of your next entry for Canada when you came to, I believe it was to study, if I remember from our previous discussions, Varna. So you can totally have overlapping months. That's not a problem at all. So that's what I'd encourage you to do. And the government recognizes that the whole month is like 30, anywhere from, I guess, 28 days, depending upon the year, 28 days to 31 days. And people will definitely be in more than one location in overlapping periods if we're only listing the month and the year. So no worries about that. Okay, 3, in the travel history section, should I mention any travel information that I have between India and Canada? So that's the country of her origin, India, and the current country of her residence, Canada. For example, should I mention the first time I entered Canada or when I went back to India for a 1-month vacation? It is also asking if any of my family members have any travel history. So I'm not sure if they're asking about my spouse or are they asking about any of my family members. Looking forward to your live Q&A. Okay, Varna. So with this last one, when it comes to travel history, this is where you need to just make some decisions internally. The question says that you only need to list travel outside of your countries. It says list any travel that you have had outside of your country of origin or country of residence. And when you're going back and forth between those two places, if you were to read that question literally, I would argue that it means that you don't have to list that as your residence. But in travel, you're going to list all the places that you went to outside of those two countries. But because I personally don't have 100% clarification from IRCC, and this is something that I should probably ask, there is no harm in actually listing all of those trips. And so out of an abundance of caution, I would do it. And, bearing you having more than 40 plus entries or whatever the maximum is for travel history, I would just include it and I would just document it. And if it's more than you need, well, that's fine. Just give me 1 second here. I'm going to get a drink from my Herbalife. So Varna, if you want to include it, I would just do it as long as it's not too burdensome for you. But a strict reading would suggest that if you are leaving your current country of residence to go back to your country of origin and vice versa, that shouldn't need to be included as part of your travel history. But you can if you'd like to. All right. Awesome. So these were all really good questions. And you guys can see, right? We're 48 minutes in and we've covered a lot of ground, a lot of territory. And it would be awesome if I would be able to put timestamps on each of these questions. But I'll be honest, guys, I'm like running on 3 hours sleep a night, making sure that I'm meeting all the expectations of my paying clients while still trying to help all of you wonderful people that are part of this family. And that's how I consider all of you. Our Express Entry Law private Facebook group is like one big family. We look out for each other. We help each other. We support each other, all in our journey to come to Canada, which is really why you'd be a part of this group. If you had no desire to be ever come to Canada, then I guess I'd question why you wanted to be a part of the private group. But generally speaking, the vast majority hope to realize their dream of becoming a permanent resident of Canada. And so we're all in this together. Me as the facilitator, as a Canadian immigration lawyer, I would love to represent every single one of you, to file your applications on behalf of you, to make sure that everything goes exactly as it should and that you have complete and total peace of mind. But I recognize that some people just want to do it themselves. They want to try it. And that's why I created this Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide to doing it yourself. All right? And just so that everybody knows about this, there is a ton of information in previous EE Live Q&As about this product. And I created it because I can't help 100,000 people all at the same time. I can do these EE Live Q&As, but you can see I only got through about 8 or 9 questions. And so for a very small fee, and I'll go back here to the actual page. I'm going to blow this up again. You have choices. And when I do this, I'm just going to create a new incognito window here so that you guys can see. And if I go here, this is the view that you guys are going to see. And so there's a little introductory video here that talks about it. And this breaks down all of the sections that are covered within the Express Entry law, within this Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide. This is a video guide. I walk you through every stage, and I talk about the basics. I talk about preparing your profile. I talk about completing your profile. And I even jump down into everything, even the most important parts, your electronic application for permanent residence, what you need to do to complete that. What happens when you're trying to upload your documents, and what are the requirements for these documents? And then a whack of FAQs, okay? And so all of this is designed to help you guys. And so when you click on Enroll in the course, you have an option. You can purchase a one-time lifetime access. You can choose to break that up into 6 months of payment plans. So if you don't think you're going to qualify right away, you can pay $87 a month, and I designed to break that down to help people who want this but maybe can't otherwise afford it. Or many of you that come from countries where you're restricted on how much you can put on your international credit cards. Or you can choose a monthly membership subscription of $97, and these are in US dollars, USD, because the company who hosts this for me is based in the US. And so $97 a month, which this monthly membership subscription is automatically recurring. So once you subscribe, you stay enrolled, and every month your credit card is debited until you cancel and pull out. And I had a ton of people who were saying when I didn't have that, they were complaining because they were getting bounced out and then having to go back in and re-register because their access was gone. And so the only way I could save all of the work that they'd done was to make it recurring. And so you have to watch it, because if you don't want to register it for more than a month, it automatically renews. But that's how it is. And there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you don't like it, if it doesn't work for you, if you feel like you already know everything and it's not adding any value for you, then you can ask for your money back and I'll give it back. And so that's a guarantee. And you guys have seen already, as we go through this whole process, as you watch me on my EE Live Q&A, as you've viewed and read the comments from people like Varna who've used it, the reality is it is designed to make the process as simple and understandable and demystified as possible to allow you to do it on your own. And how does it benefit me? Well, as a Canadian immigration lawyer, yes, I would love for you to hire me. I would love to be your representative, and I've got a ton of different options. But the reality is, many people, for whatever reason, don't want to retain me. They want to be able to do it themselves. Maybe the costs are a little bit higher. And so I created this option for them so that everybody could benefit from the knowledge that I have, and they could have the information they needed to manage the process safely themselves, versus actually relying upon some unknown or mysterious discussion group, or where the information isn't even vetted and you don't even know if the person who's sharing it with you actually knows what they're doing. So anyways, I wanted to share all of that with you. This Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide to Doing It Yourself is for you guys. It's for you YouTubers who are following me on YouTube. It's for all the members of the Express Entry Law Facebook group. Okay? So I'm going to pull that off, and now it's time. Now I want you guys to start posting your questions. Go. And I'll give a little bit of time here. And so we'll start just with the very next comment that is posted. And I know what happens here because you guys are all going to start firing them off. But we'll wait until the next one is posted. Okay, here we go. Okay, Goose says here, hi, Mark, what PR-related documents are required to claim sibling points? Okay, great question. And a lot of these you'll see relate to the documents that people require. And so we're going to go back to my page here. I'm going to close this incognito window, and I'm going to pull up this one, and we're going to go to the source of all goodness called the EECIC completeness check. I'm going to pull this up, and I'm going to go right here to this website, okay? And so this is the source of much of the information you're looking for on what your documents need to look like to satisfy whatever thing you're trying to prove to the government. So if it's sibling points, I'll actually go find replace, and I'll click in, I'll spell it properly first. Oh, I'm still struggling. There we go. So sibling, and then make sure we're on the right page here. All right, let's make sure I'm totally on the right page here. Okay, I'm going to shrink this down over here, and then I'm going to scroll to the bottom because it's actually down here. Okay, so here is where it starts, and we've got a big screen, and I can see that my image is blocking off the bottom right. So it's always a little bit tricky when I'm trying to do this because I've got other overlays on my screen that block me from being able to see. I'm going to shrink this down. I know what I'm going to do. I am going to make this manually a little bit bigger, and my messy screen here, we'll just move it over and cover that messy part. And then these ones I don't need anymore. I'll move them out of the way. There. And then this will be a little bit easier for you guys to see. And then I'm actually going to take this and move this over here too. Okay. All right. There we go. Now we're in business. Okay. And I believe I have, yes, I'm sharing the right screen. Everybody can see. Okay. So if we go back down here, and you can see this is the section, proof of relationship to a relative in Canada. So this is when you want to claim points for a brother or sister, for CRS points and those kinds of things. And this is, I think this is exactly, Goose, what you're referring to. So you can see here, okay, so this is what's required if you want to claim points for this, you or your accompanying spouse has family members in Canada. So copy of both sides of the family member's Canadian citizenship document, birth certificate, or permanent resident card. Then evidence that they actually live in Canada. So you can see lease, mortgage documents, utility bills. And these must show their address in Canada, dated within the 6 months prior to submission. So remember, if they're not living in Canada, you can't claim them. And then proof of the relationship. So showing that they actually are a sibling. So you both have birth certificates that name the same parents. Okay? So there's the answer for Goose. And I'm just going to leave this up because I think that there might be very well more questions related to this. Okay, there's Varna. Hey, Varna. For travel history, is it asking only about my spouse? Oh, yes. Sorry, Varna. I forgot about that. It is asking about your spouse or dependent children if they were coming with you and they were over 18. So it's just you, your spouse, and any dependent children. Not your mother, father, not your brothers, sisters. It's just that immediate family group. Okay? Thanks for clarification there. Yeah, and she talks about her father living in England. So should I mention this? No, not a problem. Okay. Okay. Iman says, hello from Egypt. While filling an EE application, should I write my job title as in my reference letter or to choose the most relevant title from what lists on the NOC job list examples? Use the title in your reference letter. And that's full stop. Just use that. That's your title. Titles are not conclusive. For the purposes of IRCC, the NOC title, that your NOC code, the title listed for that doesn't matter. Titles are meaningless. I shouldn't say they're meaningless. They give somewhat of an indication of a job, but they're not determinative. The thing that really matters is your duties and whether or not you've performed all of the activities in the lead statement on that NOC or a substantial number of the main duties. And we usually attribute substantial to be right around 75% if you wanted to use that as a kind of a baseline. But by no means is that a hard and fast rule. The education and employment requirements don't apply. So title, not a big deal. Use the one in your letter. Okay, Anam, hi Mark, would you recommend mentioning presence of relative aunt who has Canadian citizenship in letter of explanation when points for that are not being claimed under basic eligibility assessment of federal skilled worker? Could non-disclosure be construed as misrep by the visa office? Thanks. No, Anam, if your document checklist is asking you to provide evidence of proof of family member, and you don't need those extra points for adaptability within the federal skilled worker program, and that's the selection criteria, right? Within the federal skilled worker program, ANTS, you get points for family members in Canada. So if you don't need those points, then you don't need to worry about it. But if there's a section that says upload information about your family member, and you know that that's related to an aunt because you had to disclose something, although you wouldn't really need to disclose an aunt, you don't need to worry about it. It's not misrep in any way. Okay. Tamid says, my CRS is 420. I'm waiting for a notice of interest. Now I might get a job in a different country within the next 2 months. Now, if I go to that country, will it be a problem? No. Canada doesn't care where you live outside of the country. It's irrelevant. If you're in Canada and then you're looking to move away, well, there might be implications to that, but that doesn't seem to be a part of your question. So Tamid, I don't see any issues with that. Okay. And then Shanti's got a very, very long one here. You guys need to keep it a little bit smaller so that we can get through a little bit more, but I'll try, Shanti, here. Okay, I visited Beijing on an F visa in 2009. Initial visa validity was for 30 days. I registered with the Beijing police on the next day of my landing in Beijing. Before my visa was about to expire, my company extended my visa in Hangzhou City. I traveled between Hangzhou and Beijing for 2 to 3 months, but I never visited police station in Hangzhou as I'd already registered in Beijing. Again, my visa was extended in Beijing for the second time, and I left country after staying for 5 months. Now when I apply for police clearances, Beijing police gave me the PCC for the duration when my visa was extended in Beijing. You guys can see how this is long questions like that are really probably not the best. I'm going to probably skip through them in the future. It's too hard for the listeners to follow. And this situation here is very specific to your situation. So these are typically ones where I would actually direct you back to do a paid consult, because I would hate to misunderstand something and then not be able, and then give you advice based on some misapprehension. So, okay. So, but Hangzhou police are not giving PCC because I didn't register with them. My consultant, you've hired a consultant. Why are you asking me if you've hired a consultant? You should have hired me to help you. Okay, I get this all the time. All right, but Hangzhou police are not giving PCC because I didn't register with them. My consultant gave me a non-obtainable letter for the period, not able to get PCC. Does CIC consider my EL and non-attainable letter? Well, the reality is, Shanti, you can only do what you can do. So in your letter of explanation, you explain what happened, and you can only provide what you can get. And if you can't get it, then yeah, you're going to use whatever evidence you can to explain, including your letter of explanation, to just confirm with the officer that what you provided is all that you can get. Okay. All right. Pushkar says, hi, Mark, listening in from New York. Okay, let's see here. Listening in from New York, thank you for this platform. I have 450 plus CRS score. Awesome. Should I just apply via EE, or should I try something like OINP? My NOC is 1112-2173. Pushkar, just go through the express entry process. And I highly encourage you to purchase a subscription to the Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide, because it can help you get through it faster, or you can hire me, which I wish, in all honesty, Shanti had done that. All right. So you're totally fine. Don't waste your time with the OINP. Just don't. Go through Express Entry. You saw what the draws were. The last one was 444. You'll get drawn, my friend. But there are tips and strategies to help get through it quicker that are in the Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide. But I'll throw out some right now. Make sure you've got all your documents ready before you submit your profile. Everything. Because the moment you submit your profile, bang, you're going to get your ITA. All right. Okay. Let's see what we have here. Oh, Verista says, Persad, he says, hey, Mark, Verista from Trinidad and Tobago. Just wanted to thank you for your YouTube videos. I got PPR in 35 days. See details below for anyone who wishes to know. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. That's incredible. AOR to PPR, 35 days. So acknowledgement of receipt is AOR. That's when you submit your electronic application for permanent residence. And PPR is your passport request from the point in time where they assess the whole application and then requested the passport. Very cool. But don't the rest of you think that everybody's going to get it in 35 days. And that's the problem I have. The government's their standards that they have, their service standards that they have posted are that only 80% of the applications will be processed in under 6 months. So when people like this, like Verista, have this positive, unbelievable experience, everybody wonders why they can't have the same one. Well, it depends on so many factors. The officer that's adjudicating your application, did Verista go through the Canadian experience class? Was he already working in Canada? All those kinds of things. So I suspect Trinidad, if you're actually in Trinidad, that you're not in Canada. And this is truly through the Federal Skilled Worker Program. But, and it looks like that's the case. So very cool, very fast, awesome. All right, let's see what we're doing for time here as I jump back in. I just want to make sure that I've got the right thing going, and I'm going to shift back here. Okay, so Tizib says, hi Mark, a cousin of mine is staying separated as her husband had deserted her. She has filed a legal case about the same. Now that her relationship status is not legally separated, nor she is living with her husband, what marital status does she enter while she creates a profile for express entry, asking on her behalf? Tizib, every one of these situations is just a little bit different. And so it's hard for me to tell exactly what she needs to post without knowing more information. And generally speaking, you've indicated here that her status is not legally separated. So if you're not legally separated, the only default is that you're married. And that spouse, if you're not legally separated, is still going to have to obtain police clearances and immigration medicals. And it can be a problem. So if the case is truly not legally separated, then the only real default is marriage. But I really recommend that you book a paid consultation so that we can go through that, because the distinction is pretty significant. Okay, Ashrafal. Post ITA as spouse, I am not claiming any points, so I am not mentioning any of my education or work in the given section. Instead, I just mention my education and work, which lies within the last 10 years in the personal history, without providing any document proof. Is it going to be fine? Yes, absolutely. Now you're thinking. You're not going to waste any time putting work history nor education if you don't need to claim any points. It's a complete and total waste of time. But you do list it in the personal history section exactly as you've done. Fantastic. Great job. Okay, now question 2. Since marriage is just a matter of one day, I did not mention marriage in personal history. Is that right thing to do? Okay. All right. Post ITA as spouse. Okay. Since marriage is just a matter of one day, I did not mention marriage in personal history. Is that right thing to do? Okay, Ashrafal. This one has got me a little bit perplexed. I'm sure the rest of you guys know what Ashrafal is talking about here, but I'm not quite sure. I know that if you have received your ITA, I'm a little confused here. Since marriage is just a matter of one day, I did not mention marriage in personal history. Is that right thing to do? Oh, I understand now what you're asking. Yeah, no, you don't need to list you getting married as one of those, as an individual item within your personal history. No, you don't need to do that at all. No, that's just fine. You'll just be continuing forward with your work or your study or whatever it was. Okay, great question. Okay, Dorina says, please, I'm waiting for a consultancy with you. I have sent you an email 5 days ago, but I haven't a response since. Dorina, I thought for sure that I had sent you a response already. I've got a new system that is designed to automate the process so that people can actually connect with me. I can respond to them quickly, and so that they can book appointments actually faster. So I'm not sure, Dorina. I will look into it right now. You post in the comment section here your email address. I will find it and I will make sure that I send out an email right away. That should not have slipped through the cracks. So sometimes if people request a consult and then I send them my credit card authorization form and they don't send that back to me, well, that credit card authorization is your ability. It's the thing that allows me to actually schedule your consultation. So sometimes people send me inquiries. I tell them how much it's going to charge, and then I never hear from them again. And I'm not sure if that's you, Dorina, but I'm sure it probably isn't. But for your situation there, post your email here. I'll go back in the comments. I'll take a look, and then we can go from there. Okay. Okay, so Vrista's posted again here, 35 days. That's quite a celebration. Okay, IFTech. Hey, Mark, thank you every time for your services. Good to talk to you, IFTech, again. It's great. I truly wish you the best. This world really needs more kind-hearted and sincere individuals like you. Since our last talk, yes, so IFTech, we had a consult. You know that I will be for Express Entry around mid-2019, and I would like to know, in terms of your insight, how long do you think the Express Entry law will continue at the same pace? Lastly, I would to apply for my police clearance from U.S. in advance 1 year. Since it takes a long time and I won't be returning to the U.S., will I be able to use this clearance or reapply after receiving my ITA? Thank you. Okay, IFTech, I don't anticipate Express Entry changing. I really don't. But anything is possible. We could get a new government that comes in, decides to make adjustments. We could have them change the way the comprehensive ranking system, the criteria are structured. They could do that. But I wouldn't worry about that. At the end of the day, you're doing what you need to do to prepare, and you can only control the things that you can control. The police clearance will continue to be valid after it's issued if you never return to the U.S. So as long as you never return back to the U.S., that FBI clearance will continue to be valid for the purposes of Express Entry. All right. Okay, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to close it off there because I've got to get back to some more work here in the office. But I want to express my sincerest appreciations to all of you guys. And I'm sorry I couldn't get to everybody's comments and questions. Some of them, I'll be honest, were kind of bordering a little bit on things that I would actually charge a consultation fee to provide. But I really want to try to help you as much as I can. And so I just do the best I can. But if you would like to book a consultation with me, you can totally do that. And you can just go to my firm's website, stringham.ca, and then right on that page, you can book a consult. But I'll put a link here in the description for the video. Looks like everybody's starting to drop off now as we're coming to the end. Thanks for joining me. As always, remember that this Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide is really the sponsor, for all intents and purposes, of this. It's this awesome little guide that makes all of this possible. So you YouTubers, make sure that you subscribe. Those who are not members of the Express Entry Law Facebook group, please join us. And those of you who are in, let's push it over the top to 100,000 within the next couple weeks here. And in all honesty, I wouldn't be surprised if we reached it by the end of this week. And oh my, if we cross over that 100,000 threshold, there's going to be some awesomeness going on. There's going to be tons of just really cool things that I'm going to do to celebrate it. It's a huge milestone. 100,000 members. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. As always, I am Canadian immigration lawyer Mark Holthe, former high school teacher, ex-immigration officer, and the founder of the Express Entry Law Facebook group, friend of all you guys. Tune in next Tuesday at noon Mountain Standard Time when we'll do our next EE Live Q&A. Take care, everyone.